We've got question number 5, which is a cash flow question. So right at the bottom of the page, which you just can't see at the moment, prepare the operating section of the cash flow statement for the year ended 30th of June using the direct method. Now, pay attention to this. It just asks for the operating cash flow section. It doesn't ask for a full cash flow. So what goes into my operating cash flow section? So what makes up operating cash flow? Current liabilities, current assets, income and expenses. So what we're really looking at is we're looking at my current assets, my current liabilities and some items down here. Okay, so cash at bank, accounts receivable, inventory are my current assets. So I'm looking at these 3 items here. My accounts payable, my accrued expenses, income tax payable, dividends payable would all be my current liabilities. And what else we got? We've got income and expenses, so we've got revenue, we've got a gain, we've got cost of goods sold, we've got depreciation, operating expenses, loss on sale, net profits, income tax as well. Okay, so there's a bit of information down here that we'll need. Some, not all of it, but some of it. Okay, so now what we've got to do is reconcile or find the cash flows in these items. That's what we're trying to identify, the cash flow. So, first thing I want to do is I want to find my cash from my customers, which will be my accounts receivable. So, now, it's back to basics. T accounts. So my accounts receivable, let's have a look at my accounts receivable. Opening balance is 198. That's my opening. And my closing is 170. Now what increases my accounts receivable? Sales. So I've got my sales revenue down here. 620. And that's my sales. What decreases my accounts receivable is my cash from my customers. So what have we got here? We've got 620, 720, 818. So I've got to get this side to come back to 818. So what was my cash collected from my customers then? Who's fast on the calculator? Everyone's a bit shy this morning. 818. 648,000 is what I get. Right. So cash collected from my customers, 648. Pardon me. So that's my cash collected from my customers, so I can tick off my accounts receivable. Ticked off my sales revenue as well. Now the next thing we're going to do is a 2-step process. What I need to do is I need to work out how much I purchased through my inventory and then how much did I pay to my accounts payable. So I've got to work out my purchases first. So that becomes my inventory. I've got an opening balance of inventory of 230. That's my opening. And my closing balance is 220. Now, purchases is what we're trying to work out. There's no information here that's going to be able to give me my purchases number, but what do I need to put on my other side? What decreases my inventory? Sales, or what we call cost of sales. So my cost of goods sold here, so it's 240. Cost of goods sold. Now if I work out a balance, that becomes 460. So this one should be 460. So therefore my purchases should work out as 230. Just by balancing. Next item I need is my accounts payable. My accounts payable, I started with a balance of 190. So now because these are credits, that's why I'm going over to this side for my opening balance. My closing balance is 170. Now what increases my accounts payable is my purchases. So this number is just come down to here. So I've got my purchases of 230, which makes, what's that, 220, 420? So if I'm balancing back to the 420, cash paid should be 250. Alright, and that's another item that I'm going to be including in this. I'm going to highlight it. And I can tick off that I've done my accounts receivable, I've done my inventory, I've done my accounts payable. Next thing I'm going to look at is my accrued expenses. Started with a balance of 75, finished with a balance of 80. Opening balance 75, closing balance 80. Now what increases my accrued expenses will be my operating activities, my operating expenses. Now depreciation is non-cash, remember that, so it doesn't get included. Remember there will be cash and non-cash items that might test you here, so that's the important thing. Loss on the sale of equipment is also a non-cash item. Net profit is a non-cash item. Income tax expense, okay, we're going to have to do something there. Do we have an income tax payable? We do. Okay, and we have a dividends payable as well. No, dividends payable doesn't get included. Alright, so my operating expenses are 80,000, so it's going to increase it. So that makes 155,000. If I'm doing the same on this side, that must mean my cash paid is 75,000. And once again, that's what I'm looking for. So my accrued expenses is done. Last one I've got is my income tax payable. So my income tax, I started with 45, and it's a payable, so it's over this side again. And my closing was 92. Now what increases my income tax payable is obviously my tax expense. So I've got a tax expense here. So it's 110, which makes 155. So if I'm balancing, so that means tax paid will be, what's that, 63. Oops. And that's my tax paid. So I can now tick off my operating expenses that I've done, and I've done that. So non-cash. Gain on the sale of machinery is a non-cash item as well. But that's a financing, so we don't have to worry about that. Depreciation expense. Quick scan through. All my equity is financing. My non-current liabilities is financing. And my non-current assets is investing. So we've actually covered it all off. We can tick off every item. So now what I need to do is I need to create my cash flow statement, operating section, that's all. So here's my business, Birdie Limited. And we're just looking at operating activities. And cash received from customers. And my cash received from my customers was $648,000. So I've got 648. Next thing I'm looking for is my cash paid to suppliers. My cash paid to my suppliers was $250,000. So I've got 250. And because it's a paid, it's an outflow, I'm going to bracket that figure. So when I give my total out, then I know what I'm doing. Next was my operating expenses. And my operating expenses came in at $75,000. So I'm going to put that into my cash flow. And it's a paid as well. And because it's paid, bracketed it. And the last one was my taxes paid. And my tax paid was $63,000. And once again, it's a paid, so my operating cash flow is there. How much is my operating cash flow? Let's have a look. Turn him on. 648 less 250 less 75 less 63. 260,000. And it's a positive cash flow, so I'm going to leave it unbracketed. Now say that you know the marking scheme. Every tick is worth a mark. So we've got one for the heading. Because these are, there's your 10 marks, 10 ticks.